Good morning everyone and welcome to this new edition of the Monday Report by Body. Last week on the economic front we had the publication of the Purchasing Manager Confidence both in the US and in Eurozone for the services and manufacturing sector. In the US the confidence in the manufacturing sector surprised to the upside while the confidence in services disappointed and came down. In Eurozone we had exactly the opposite. Confidence disappointed and continued to decline in the manufacturing sector, while, and this was a positive news, surprise with the upside on services. But it was central bank announcement last week that had the biggest impact on asset prices. Overall, central banks have been more dovish than expected. The US Fed kept its projected rate cuts unchanged for this year, despite higher estimates for growth and inflation. The Swiss National Bank has even decided to cut its benchmark rate by 0.25%, and this was a positive surprise. Finally, the Bank of Japan has raised for the first time since 2007 its target rate, but the overall tone was relatively more dovish than expected. As a result, sovereign 10-year yield came down by roughly 10 basis points pretty much everywhere, pushing bond prices up by 1% in US dollar and in euro. Equities did benefit from these changes, plus 2.3% in the US, plus 1% in Eurozone, plus 0.5% in emerging markets, and Swiss equities posted a negative performance of minus 0.2%. The dollar index was up by 0.6%, and this did not prevent gold to go up as well by 0.2%. This week, the focus will be on the publication of the inflation measure PCE in the US, while in Eurozone we'll have the publication of confidence indicators of the European Commission. The interest rate cut by the Swiss National Bank last week was a surprise and pushed the Swiss franc down against the euro. It's of course a good news for Swiss exporters. However, we are not discounting a massive Swiss franc depreciation, as fundamentals of the currency are still very solid. The Japanese yen resumed its downtrend versus the US dollar despite the Bank of Japan action. This trend should not last, as the Japanese yen is already extremely cheap, and the Bank of Japan will be the only major central bank to tighten its monetary policy this year. That's all for today. Thank you for your attention and see you next week.